5 years in. And I go, oof, wonder what that feels like. And that was it.
Yeah.
Question asked, question posed. Now, the funny hardy hard part about that is there's only one way to answer that question.
Welcome to the Beauty Seed.
We had so much fun last time. We decided to do some more, huh?
Yeah, welcome back again
Thanks,
after
man.
after so long away. I really missed you. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to digging again. Thanks for coming back
48
to the Beauty
hours.
Seed.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening again, everybody.
Yeah. So let's dive right in since we're here.
Let's do it.
One thing that I kept hitting me over and over again as I went through the coursework for Enlifted L1, L2, you mentioned on a number of occasions 8 different guides, mentors, modalities that you studied in making your way through the space of learning about this stuff. And
Yes.
I'm really curious, who are those people? How'd they influence you? What did you learn about this work? And what were the modalities that led you into developing this furtherance of this work? You know, we stand on the backs of giants.
Yeah.
All right, who are those giants?
Yeah. Great. Good word. Good word. Furtherance.
Hmm.
Furtherance. That's because we never ever have the thing. We're only ever telling the story of the thing. You know, they're Taoism once again.
Yeah.
Um, the first man, that is so good. I love coffee in the afternoon. You too.
Right there with you. Yeah, but do you have my wife got me this. She's really into these. I don't know if you can't quite see it in the camera, but it's one of those Japanese tea covers with a little
Okay.
bunny on it, pink.
Nice. I'd rock one of those.
Oh yeah. Well, we can make that happen.
Okay. I'm in.
It's like,
Uh, Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say it's kind of like Kimberly's pins.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got several of them over there. First one was emotional freedom technique.
Mhm.
And just to add a little more context to it, uh, I got a check from because went into a trust and blah blah blah, and it came out 10 years later after my mom passed,
Gotcha. Oh,
and
probate can be brutal.
yeah, yeah, dude, it was just
Yeah.
zigs and zags and ups and actually 13 years later, and it man did that nitrous button fall into my lap in the right time.
Hmm.
I was 3 years in. Let me back up. I first started with emotional freedom technique, and I went and did a 5 day study with the masters um, course in Denver, Colorado with Gary Craig. And I got to be in the room with him and I got to watch him work. That was my one checklist. That was my thing. When I would go and I'd track these people down, I wanted to watch them work.
Hmm.
And with the hindsight that I have now, I realized what I was doing more so than what I thought I was doing then. Um, which I believe is something we talked about last time when we got off talking about community building. Um,
I think that was on a phone call.
was it on a phone call?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get into
Abe and
that.
I have been burning it up, man.
Yeah.
Second podcast, phone call, maybe even two phone. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, we've been getting our rounds in, and yeah, that was in 2006. And I go, okay, this is how I'm going to work with people, and that is how I worked with people for a number of years. Um, four and a half to be exact.
Hmm.
So I went pro when I turned 30. my 30th birthday. Well, not 30th birthday, but when I was 30 years old. And then 3 years later, that check hit. And I took that money and I circumnavigated the globe numerous times, tracking down the founders. There's something about going to the source, the founders of the systems that most impressed me that I knew about. And there's tons of great stuff out there that
Hmm.
I didn't know about. I'm not going to know about. Um, and
Like narrative therapy we talked about last time.
yeah, yeah, there's great people doing great work out there. And
Hmm.
truth be told, I mean, I'm all the stuff that I reference is in a lot of ways it's, you know, the last generation. I'm
Hmm.
very ignorant about what's going on in the coaching and professional help and development system game right now because I'm busy and very content being very busy and
Yeah.
productive
Yeah.
doing what we're doing.
Hmm.
And so the second one was
Well, before you get on to the second one, tell me a
yep.
little bit about what that technique involved.
Yeah, so it's most people would recognize it as the tapping.
Hmm.
And so you go into stories and there's certain language models. I can tell you where EFT came from. Um, and then they tap repeatedly. It's on certain points, meridian lines,
Hmm.
and and it is what they say it is. It's a pattern. Well, I don't know if they call it this, but it is what it's a pattern interruption.
Hmm.
Um, you're and they say that you're sending pulses of energy through the meridian line system, which I can get down on. I've had more acupuncture than I could count. And it makes sense. We got a you cardiovascular system. Why not an energy line system? Why not some? Yeah. So
It's actually an older concept in the cardiovascular system.
yeah, yeah.
Much
I mean,
older.
much
Yeah.
older,
Yeah.
much older. And EFT came from two places. Gary Craig did well in the real estate business, real estate or insurance, doesn't matter. One of the two. And I'm glad I'm going into more detail about this because something that he did really fucking impressed me back in the day. I'll get to that in a sec. So thought field therapy and neuro linguistic programming. So he was a master NLP practitioner, which honestly is very easy to get,
Yeah.
shockingly easy to get, embarrassingly easy to get, um, which also informed how we go about certifying people.
Hmm.
And thought field therapy. So thought field therapy, he was the first thought field therapy practitioner. And dude, I think he got it in like the early to mid 90s,
Hmm.
something like that, maybe late 90s. And he paid over $100,000 for that certification. Then
Whoa.
he was the first student that they certified. And he took that. That's where the tapping came from, and then some of the uh, language modeling from NLP that he enjoyed, and put it together and called it EFT, which was an easier method. It was just easier, smoother, more effective.
Hmm.
And what he did that was super rad, and very grateful for, is that he made over 80 DVDs
Yeah.
on EFT and showing him doing the stuff. And he sold them at a pretty cheap price. I bought them all. It was like 360 bucks or something like that for all of them. And he said, you can't sell them, but you can make 100 copies of each one and give them away. So he shotgunned that shit all over the place. And there's, people are still using EFT today and they will for a long time. Fantastic. It's great. It's way better than a pistol in the mouth. Um, right. Or getting put on Prozac or Zoloft or some SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor with no off ramp in sight. That's my only problem with that stuff.
Yeah. We
Okay.
talked
That's
about
my
that
only
last
fucking
time.
problem
Yeah.
with that stuff is that
Yeah.
people get put on there and it's just it's like, hey, you're going to be on this for a real long time. There's no
Mhm.
off ramp. There's no nothing. It's
Well,
like, what?
there's a few other issues with it. One of them
I know.
being
Yeah.
that your body gets accustomed to exogenous, meaning outside the body, and the systems that are endogenous, meaning inside the body, start losing their functionality to produce those compounds or endorphins or whatever it is mimicking. Those functions decline in your own body over time with the use of those things. So there's some real downsides to it. I could
Yeah.
get into that in much more depth. I think let's continue.
And so I always thought that was really cool. And here at Enlifted, we do something similar, So this is I did a podcast with you on Sunday.
Yep.
Um, did a podcast on Monday. Doing this again. This is Tuesday. Got another show on Thursday. And a lot of times people ask, "Hey, what do people do?" And I talk about four stepping.
Hmm.
Okay. And that's the crown jewel and the Swiss Army knife of the Enlifted method. If you want to get real good at it and use it with other people very
Hmm.
effectively, I'd recommend studying it, like studying,
Yeah.
studying it. And I can teach,
Contemplating it.
thank you. I can
Yeah.
teach people how to do it quite quickly. And
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
basically we give it away. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I can go into that later if you want.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah. And then, so the second person I got to was Richard Bandler, who was one of the co-founders of NLP. And I went
Hmm.
and did my practitioner training with him. It was a 5-day practitioner training in London. I was living in Ecuador at the time, so it
Cool.
was a hike.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went back.
Likely didn't cost you 100 grand.
No, 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 not at all, not at all. I went back the next year and got my master practitioner training in 7 days. And I'm ignorant with a lot of stuff out there. And I'm sure there's some, great NLP certifications out there. I can only speak to
Yeah.
that one that we did. And it was a money grab. The training was bad. And good news, I wasn't going for the training. I went to
Hmm.
watch him work.
Hmm.
And all I had to do was show up on day one and sign in, and then
Hmm.
show up for my certificate on day 5 for the practitioner. There was no oversight, literally zero oversight.
Gotcha.
Um,
Accountability.
None.
Yeah.
There was 1,000 people in the room, and then the same thing for the master practitioner training, and I got to watch him work, that's why I went. I got
That
to
was the
watch
real
him.
value.
That was the real value. I was in the
Hmm.
room with the dude, and then holographic kinetics with Steve Richards. Some real weird out there shit. And there was something to it.
Yeah.
There was something to it. It was, it was a lot of it revolved around entity removal
Hmm.
and kinesiology, and contracts that we make with
Well, I mean, there's that
beings,
there's that
beings.
old adage that you got to invite the vampire across the threshold.
Yeah. Is that completely false, y'all? Or is it something worth contemplating?
Might be. I see it play out in contract law between us and the government, us and our school board, us and so I mean there's analogs there that are more practically approachable for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so was there any practical resource there for how that particular one informed your work further down the road?
What I saw was incredible creativity.
Hmm.
Incredible creativity and major outside of the box thinking that, once you saw it in play, made sense.
Hmm.
Made sense. Um, and I saw a guy that was same thing with Gary, same thing with Richard Bandler, Gary Craig, Richard Bandler, same thing with Steve. I just saw a guy that was doing his thing,
Hmm.
doing his thing,
In
and
it.
in it, dude,
Yeah.
in it, and comfortable, and just there.
Hmm.
The fourth was the work of Byron Katie, and I got to her in 2014. Um, I got to two of them in 2014. I got to Byron Katie in 2014. Did 5 days with her. Watched her do her thing. Also, another person just in their thing doing it.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Family Constellations with Bert Hellinger.
Hmm.
He's now passed.
Be quite
Uh,
powerful.
Quite powerful.
Hmm.
Quite power.
Yeah.
Talk about make you think about stuff differently.
Yeah.
I did a 3-day training with him in Quito, and then went and did a 5-day training with him in Bad Reichenhall, Germany. I like saying it. It's not how you say it, everybody. It's just
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
this Southern boy from
Yeah.
Virginia says it. Um, and then there was,
So, real
yeah,
quick, in family constellation work, doesn't that involve people taking on the roles of ancestors and family members and stepping into that so that you can kind of play out the scenario of the family line?
sure, sure. Yes, it's about people taking on roles. You can use anything to represent something. So
Hmm.
apparently, as far as fractals are concerned, hyperdimensional, blah blah blah. I don't understand all this
Hmm.
stuff, nor do I need to. That's your job, Abe, because
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we're
I
we're a
could
hyper.
unpack that for you.
Yeah, what did you say we are? We're
Dipoles.
diapoles,
Yeah.
and I'm already excited for our audience when we get on stage together and just sit there and
Yeah,
crush it.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, so apparently there's you have you have access to all information at any point in time right in front of you. And you can take five people and put them out to represent the five members of your nuclear family, and they will take on energy,
Hmm.
characteristics, information. They don't need to know these people. They most of the time won't. And
Sometimes it's more effective if they don't.
yeah, correct,
Hmm.
correct. And then the story gets played out. So it's the exact opposite of sweeping stuff under the rug.
Hmm.
And they say that that's what causes wrinkles in the cohesiveness of a family, and it just trickles downstream, or down through the
Yeah,
generations.
it's those little things that we let slip through pusillanimity, which is the small cowardices of our day. We let them slip by, and those little things are in aggregate become the big things in our life.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well said. um and yeah, that was very cool watching him work. I did a pretty good amount of family constellations over the years. The
Hmm.
guy that I saw in 2003 do story work with EFT, Barry Musgrave. He went on and dropped EFT and went into family constellations.
Hmm.
Um, and then there was Stuart Wilde. He's number 6. Um, he was a he didn't have a system, but he had the magic, and that
Hmm.
fucker was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Are you familiar with him?
No, but I'm feeling your energy, feeling your
Yeah,
vibe. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So at one point in time, two names that are recognizable, you know, likely, potentially, Deepak Chopra
Yeah.
and Wayne Dyer.
Yeah. No,
So
know of both of them
yeah,
for sure.
so at one point in time, Stuart Wilde, Deepak, and Wayne Dyer were the three most popular Hay House writers, and they sold the same amount of books, and they would go on tours together. And
Hmm.
Stuart Wilde got into conspiracies, and
Verboten.
yeah, and he disappeared. And those two guys went off to do like Oprah, take out like
Yeah. Yeah.
Oprah level shit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so he resurfaced in 2006. I got into his work in 2004, and I went and did uh a 3-day workshop with him
Hmm.
in a 11th century Knights Templar castle in
Yeah.
the south of France.
I am going to interrupt you for half a second.
Please do.
Conspiracy. I want to remind everybody that the
Yeah,
root meaning of that word is to breathe together. Contemplate that. So he got blacklisted essentially
correct.
for wanting to breathe together.
What an asshole.
What what an asshole.
What an asshole. Yeah.
So back to the Knights Templar. Speaking of conspiracies,
Yeah.
you were in a
Speaking
Knights
of conspiracy.
Templar temple.
Yep. In the south of France, and he did 6 3-day events for 6 people each, back to back to back to back. And it was the he sold it as a meditation retreat, seeing into the morph and, like, some Gnostic Christian type,
Mhm.
behind the veil stuff. We were drunk the whole time. We were drunk the whole time, and then capped it off with a mushroom journey. This was not advertised at all. I just showed
Oh,
up
I'm
and went.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so did everybody else. Um, Super fun. And yeah, so I got to meet that guy. He's also now deceased. Wayne, yeah, he's deceased. And then Leonard Orr from uh, Rebirthing. That guy's legendary in the space. He did his work for over 50 years. Over 50
That's
years.
some reps.
That's some fucking reps, man.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll also circle back to the two things that I got from watching Richard Bandler, going and
Hmm.
seeing that. I got to watch him work, be in the room with him, and then I walked out with a question based on something that he said. And Leonard Orr, I did a rebirthing session in 2014 in London, and I had an out of body experience. I'm like, okay, what's this? And so I Google him, and he's 40. He's an hour and 10 minutes away from my family farm in Virginia.
Yeah.
And so I go and I book in and do sessions with him. And in a short amount of time, I'm teaching at his Rebirthers International Institute, the word stuff.
Hmm.
And that was cool, very cool. I did not make it to John Kehoe, who was Mind Power.
Hmm.
Mind Power. That was majorly influential as far as um, the reps, getting the reps of stuff is concerned. And then myself, like many people, Tony Robbins. It's easy to shit on that guy.
Oh,
Okay.
he's really very intelligent
Oh
and
my lord.
obviously he produces results
Thank you.
in his space. So
Thank you. Yeah, Tony Robbins. So
yeah.
that's the 8 that I've and man, that guy, dude. And I will not go. Not that I won't go into the story. It's just not. It takes too long because it's a good
Yeah.
story, and if you're going to do it well, it'll. If I'm going to tell it at all, it'll take 20 minutes. I was engaged to a Russian stripper at one point in time, and that was going to go so bad.
Was her
We
name Montana?
No, she actually had 2 names. Her first name was Anushka, which I always liked that name. But yeah, so
Hmm.
and I came back from being down where I was living with her, and there was so much drama there, dude. Like nuclear level drama. And I'm not a nuclear level drama guy, but boy, I was up to my
Yeah.
eyeballs in it. And I came back, and um, not only do I give Tony Robbins credit for a lot of reasons. One, dude, who's spoken in front of more people than Tony Robbins?
No doubt.
And really, I mean, okay, maybe a musician. Take out
Yeah.
musicians, but as
Yeah.
far as personal and professional development speaking engagements, you could say maybe Joel Olstein, but that's like his thing. It's no, no,
Yeah. I haven't heard of him.
yeah, right. Um, and yeah, so that in that regard, Tony's been in the game for a long time. The effects are very real. A lot of people credit him with just completely transforming their life. And that guy got me to break off an engagement with. It was going to be not a date with destiny, a date with
Yeah.
hell on earth if I had kept
It,
going
A
down that
date with
path.
being your own worst enemy.
Yeah, seriously, sleeping with the enemy. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so those are the people that I. And here's a piece. Here's some advice. After a while, stop fucking studying. Stop studying other shit and do whatever the thing that you're studying is, and turn that into your teacher.
I so concur. I've been really leaning into that space for a number of years of going, okay, I've looked outside myself a lot. I have a vast array of answers from other people that I can draw from to make myself look that much smarter in a room full of smart people. And I sometimes even look like the smartest person in the room. Woohoo! And I went into myself and I said, okay, what can I verify from my
Nice.
own experience within myself that informs me about my path through this thing we call life? And there is so much there.
Yeah.
So much there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After, I mean, I got to Gary Craig in 2006, but 10 to 14, 10 to 14, I was traveling around and studying. And then, and also, when it was possible, I would get there early for a training, hang out with people in the community, do some sessions with the founder if it was possible. Um, and, and then just take a look under the hood. And I learned a lot about
Mhm.
community, not knowing that I was eventually going to be building one,
Hmm.
or supporting one that is building itself. Majorly valuable.
Yeah, I
And
want to get into that.
yep, well, I'm happy to get into that. We
Yeah,
can talk.
yeah.
I can talk about that now. Not
Oh,
so
sure.
much after 18 months in, but we're 5.5 years in. We've
Yeah.
got 460 coaches, and the community's a thing.
Hmm.
Um, and and yeah, and after about a 4 year period of studying a lot of different things, I finally said, okay, cool, I'm good with that. And my
Hmm.
sessions are going to be my lessons. And I kept up a full-time workload the whole time, somewhere between full-time and overtime as far as
Hmm.
one-on-one sessions. And I've been packing as workshops in. There've been some less so now because of the certifications, but that you know 12, 13 year period of time, I did as many workshops as I could get on the calendar. And
Hmm.
I went on the offensive about it. Like I made them happen. It wasn't, I was sitting there waiting for people to
Yeah,
ask me
totally.
to do a workshop. I asked the girls out in that sense. Because otherwise it would never have happened. Um, yeah. And that's a snapshot into some of the influences of this thing.
Hmm. Yeah, so the community part of it, well, first, there's something that came up in that like you sought out these teachers to observe how they comported themselves, how they presented the information, and probably I would assume, I accurately I'm guessing the response of those who are there to learn and how they took in what was being presented. Um, how how have you used that to incorporate different styles of presentation to accommodate the different styles of learning that we all seem to have? Some of us are auditory, some of us are visual, some of us are kinesthetic. And how, especially that one, like the kinesthetic, how do you bring the kinesthetic learners into the online space?
Now I have a degree in education.
Yeah.
And my business partner, he comes from a fantastic uh, background in personal and professional development from the
Hmm.
course development space. So Jeffrey Gitomer, he worked for Jeffrey Gitomer and was business partners with Jeffrey Gitomer, who's the greatest of all time salesman in modern history. Look that guy up. And I mean, and we're talking about volume of books sold. volume
Hmm.
of books, and then also the number one selling book. That's Jeffrey Gitomer. And he was his right hand man for 6 years. He built his film studio. And it was, at the time, Jeffrey was way ahead of his time as far as course development was concerned.
Hmm.
And I mean, this is in this is in, late 90s, early aughts. And
Very early on in the online educational space, for
yes,
sure.
very. And so what did that mean? That meant that um,
He had to make the tools.
not only did he make the tools, he had a studio, and then he was like all of his buddies. He was there, and they all came and shot their stuff at his studio. So
Hmm.
Adam got to see a lot of curriculum,
Hmm.
and Adam is just fucking smart. Let's just call a
Yeah, no
spade a
doubt.
spade,
No doubt.
no doubt. Um, He's a little freaky actually. And so he knows what he's looking at. And so this is I preface I say that to preface my answer is that we've given zero consideration to auditory learners and kinesthetic learners and
Hmm.
visual
Sure.
learners. What we have given all of our, and some of it is not a choice. Okay, so my passion for this work, it's not a choice. It's not a
Hmm.
game. It's not a show. I
Hmm.
do not, it's like I don't have to jazz myself up. I've got class here in uh 42 minutes. I've been excited about it all day.
Yeah.
So the main for us, it's one, and this is not in order of importance. It's just parts of it. One, my enthusiasm for this shit. Okay. Two, the efficacy of it. The stuff
Hmm.
works. And when stuff works, it's like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu works.
Yeah.
Go
Argue
tell
with that.
argue, go tell a black belt your shit ain't shit, and grab him and try to get him to the ground. And then you tell me what, like, how well that went. It's the same thing with the enlifted method is extremely effective. I've never once had someone go, this stuff doesn't work. Okay. Because it just does. Um, and so the entertainment value, the passion is very real. The efficacy of the system, the thing that we've focused on is, okay, now we got to do this for the kinesthetic learner and that for the simplicity.
Mhm.
How simple can we make this?
Yeah.
How simple can we make this? And I'm referencing the 3 online courses that we've put out, which all have the same structure, which is 21 10-minute lessons. Guess what? People could do a 10-minute lesson. Half
Hmm.
of that 10-minute lesson is a 5-minute video. And then the other 5 minutes of that 10-minute lesson is 3 questions about it,
Hmm.
and making things simple. And then, because that ain't easy.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
easiest thing in the world to start building a course. You go, oh, well, I'm gonna make it. So I'm gonna put so much information in there because I'm a smarty pants, right? I'm gonna put so much information in there and just wow everybody with how much I know, and they'll think this is the best course ever. And it'll take them 400 hours to get through the thing, but they will because I'm wonderful. Whatever the opposite direction of that is, that's the direction that we've gone in. Um, and then also we're fun people. We're fun people. We're real people. We're approachable. It,
Hmm.
like we're here for our students. We're here for our students, and they know that. They know that. They know that. They feel that. It's obvious. So the support people get, we find a way to help people learn it.
Hmm. Yeah. That's like fundamental why leads to it eventually leads to an obvious how.
Yeah,
So that why, that's the difficult part.
yeah,
And that comes from, yeah, my buddy Jason's friend Mark Schechter has helped us a lot in that perspective. Anybody who's watching wants to look up a book called Think Eight. It's great. And one of the fundamental characteristics of that is defining your own purpose, the why you're even going into this thing that you're engaging, the energy of it. Why are you doing it? It's very
yeah,
important. It is fundamental. It is
yeah.
a first place to look.
Did we ever talk about? Uh, The sentence, "I need to find my purpose."
I don't know that we have. Let's do that.
Dude, okay. This is yeah. So, once upon a time, we went on a podcast in 2017. It was the number one podcast in the fitness industry. It was a very weird and synchronistic scenario that put us in position to go on that because everybody and their mother wanted to go on that damn show. And when that show dropped, we'd been in business for 2 years on fumes the whole time. Life ain't that fun when you're getting paid $1,000 a month.
Hmm.
You know, you're not going to be stacking some extra cheddar here and there. No, quite the opposite. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. And when that show dropped, we got introduced to the fitness industry through the best mouthpiece at the time. And
Hmm.
then the thing just keeps rolling, dude. We just got invited on 2 days ago to go back on
Yeah.
one of the most popular podcasts in the CrossFit space. And there's some other very, like, it's a thing now. Before that, for a solid 10 years, I was on the yoga hippie scene.
Hmm.
Because I'd go talk to anybody about this, and that's where the spa was that's where I started working. The spa in Thailand, on Koh Samui, was very, very woo. And just I did woo cubed for 10 years. Um, and I watched grown ass men reduce themselves to tears way more than once. Women did it too, plenty of times too, with the sentence, "I need to find my purpose. I need to find my purpose, Abe." And I looked at that and I'm like, man, that's a tough one. I got to think about this. No, I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to consider it. No, 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 no. I'm going to contemplate it. And I contemplated. And I'm like, oh, and finally I was like, oh, Dr. Simple over here. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I now understand what's going on. And it took me a while to understand it on a personal and professional level. So here's the thing. When I first saw transformational wordsmithing, that's my word. Those are
Hmm.
my words for the whole thing. If someone's helping someone change a story in any form or fashion,
Hmm.
consciously, they're transforming a story through word smithing, which is an
Hmm.
art, which is a craft, which is a practice. Transformational wordsmithing. So under the umbrella of 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 all of that. So when I first saw transformational wordsmithing in 2003, I was like, man, that shit is so cool. It was the second time I'd fallen in love on site.
Yeah.
Minus some beautiful women.
Yeah.
At first time was when I got choked in a jujitsu class. I was like, gotta learn this. And the second time was when I saw that in that yoga solid. And all I knew at the time is I was very interested in it. I thought it was super cool, and I went with it. It took me 10 years of doing the thing full time to look around and go, this thing's held my attention the whole time. It's like a woman. You spend X amount of years with her, and it's just fantastic the whole time. You look around, you're like, okay, well, I'm expecting this to be that way. For I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's allow me to wife you up, please.
Yeah.
And it took me 10 years of this holding my attention, my interest, my appreciation, fascination, passion. And after 10 years, I was like, okay, I commit. This is what I'm going to do with my professional time.
Hmm.
So I claimed it as my purpose. Here's the thing with that. I didn't know what it was when I first looked at it. So when someone is saying, I need to find, which implies it's lost,
Yeah.
I need to find my purpose. Not many people know what their purpose is the moment they see it in its
Or
most
how to
raw,
seek
rough
it
state,
out.
or how to seek it out. And if
Yeah.
you're looking for something that's going to be your purpose that's lost,
Hmm.
if you're looking for, like, you have this idea of what your purpose is going to look like. And if I had that idea of, hey, I need to find my purpose, and it looks like this and this, and then the angels sing and heaven descends. I wouldn't have recognized. I would have looked at what I saw in 2003 and been like, well, that's not it. It was an interest. So here's the formula: explore your interests. That was an interest. Jiu-jitsu was an interest.
Hmm.
Develop your passions. They both of them quickly turned into my passions. Okay. This one
Hmm.
has stuck around for 18 years. Jiu-jitsu had a shelf life on it. Okay. And then commit to your purposes. So interest, passion, purpose. And let the damn thing develop. Let the relationship develop.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
As and then I was like, yeah, well, of course they're reducing themselves to tears with I need to find my purpose. Oh, by the way, why only have one?
Yeah.
Because that implies you can only have one.
Yeah, we're in a mode of hyper specialization, and that comes back to that thing we were talking about the other day with like most people have difficulty clarifying what they actually mean by success for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't know what success looks like for yourself, it's difficult to, yeah, to really move through that.
I've seen a guy named Andrew Barnes. He got in some hot water, but whatever. Um, this was in 17, yeah, early 17. I went and listened to a talk at a festival that I was giving, and this guy talked about the dangers of soulmate language.
Unpack that for me. That's some juice there.
Yeah, yeah, soulmate language, and twin flame language. He goes, I mean, the data's in, and he was referencing a lot of studies and things like that. It was when you have that. It's the same thing with purpose. You have this idea, this box that this thing must fit in, or a way that this thing must look, and it puts a lot of constraints on things, and
Understatement of the century.
understatement of the century. And the same thing with my twin flame, my soulmate. It puts it's easy, it's very easy to have those mental parameters and expectations, take out very easy and put in inevitable, to have them bumped up into, which
Hmm.
is a nice way of saying it, with the inevitability of people and their personalities and life. And he's like, people that describe themselves as such, they have a higher divorce rate than people that just let the thing turn into the thing,
Hmm.
because it sets extra rigid expectations. That's
Yeah.
that's that's what I've been waffling on about I need to find my purpose. That's an unrealistic expectation of you being able to recognize the thing as the thing when you first see it.
Hmm. Right.
Took me,
Yeah, that's
like, again, took me
yeah.
10 years doing this stuff to go, okay, I'm in.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in
Which and
some,
which is
yeah.
which is the second thing that I walked out of that NLP training with. Richard Bandler looks like the fucking penguin, and I remember it just like yesterday. He did then. I is he still alive? I don't know. A lot of my mentors are dying. Um, and he goes, I've been doing this shit for 40 fucking years, and let's see, 12, 6, 7, I'm 5 years in,
Correct.
and that's to do it for that long.
Hmm.
And so when in 2017, you've heard me tell this story before, when I got off stage at TEDx RVA and we knocked that shit out of the park, and I've been doing it for 10 years, and I go, okay, I'm in. I'm gonna do it for 50. I'm gonna do it for 50. I'm gonna do this for 50 years and see what
Hmm.
I can pull off. And I went down in my calendar, it's down there right now. Scroll down to January 2057, January 17th, 2057, Mark England's last day on the job. And January 28th, excuse me, January 18th, 2057, I promise you this, I'm not talking about this shit anymore. I'll be
Yeah.
I'll be an old wrinkled motherfucker, and I will not care if anyone tries to talk to me about the abracadabra. I'll smack them with my cane. I just want to I will want to disappear and never be seen again.
Hmm.
Like a real disappearing act. That is
Fading
my
into
plan,
the
by the way.
mist.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
my plan. No one will ever see me again. And I could do that
Yeah.
because I've got, I mean, I'd always let my nieces know where I'm at, but I don't, I don't, I don't have a family. I'm like Robert De Niro in Heat. It's like if the heat ever
Yeah.
gets turned, you got to
Yeah.
be able
Yeah.
to walk.
Yeah. That is an aspect of this work in this world is what are you a s- building a relationship of what are willing to lose in some sense.
Yeah.
That we kind of touched on that in I think it was our L2 one-on-one session, the tall poppy, you know, what is it to be a tall poppy? And some of us are born tall poppies and we have our heads up there and we have the choice to duck down below the weeds and keep our heads low. What's your relationship with that? Is that part of the reason you don't have a family, or is that simply an outcome of the life you chose to lead, or where does that come from?
Yeah. Fate.
Right.
I've been part of the reason this stuff is so simple is because I've spent so many hours staring at it
Hmm.
because I have the hours to stare at it. Okay. I don't
Hmm.
have a wife. I don't have an ex-wife. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any kids. I don't like nothing.
Hmm.
Um, and the main reason is I've never wanted them. If I wanted them, I'd have them. It's
No
that
doubt.
simple. I've been maniacally obsessed with this shit, for better and for worse. And I gave myself a green light. I was like, dude, uh, just do this one thing. Just do this. Just do this. And if you have that other stuff, wonderful.
Hmm.
If you don't, wonderful. And I'm cool with that. Um, it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
I don't think to do it. I think to do this stuff. So
totally.
yeah.
And as far as the tall poppy thing, I know you're comfortable with the actuality of doing the work and showing up and come what may.
Come what may. I love those words. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. For
yeah,
sure. And if flying too close to the sun with this stuff is what's in store, then that's what's in store. Dude, I mean, we haven't even gotten started yet. I know what we're plotting and scheming behind the scenes. I'll get on
yeah,
stage with anybody. I'll get on
yeah,
stage and talk about words and stories with anybody.
yeah,
And I'll go on any size show. I've been on, this is my 442nd show. Uh and cool.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah,
Like I'm not afraid to be seen, and I'm not afraid to be seen as stupid.
yeah, right. I'll be for sure seen as me. Yeah,
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah.
I love that about you. I love that about me. Showing up, doing the work, and come what may. Yeah, I think that's great, Mark. I think we covered most of what I had really wanted to step through that we weren't able to get to last time. You have a class coming up. I have some things on my plate, and how fantastic. Let's plan another one in 6 months or so.
Yeah, let's do that, man. And you know, we'll I look forward to meeting you in person, buddy.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That seems take out the seams. That's inevitable.
Nice. Yeah, that's inevitable.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some other stuff too.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
Thanks again for having me on.
Love
Super
it.
fun.
And to everybody out there, grace be upon you. We love you very much, and thanks for joining us on this fantastic little jaunt through the history and dynamics of developing our own journey in the authentic spirit of the things we love to do and how to approach that from a way that's got efficacy in the practical nuts and bolts of making it happen in your life. As that
Well said.
seems to be what it's about on
Very
many
well said.
levels. Yep. So thanks again, Mark. Talk to you soon, and we're out. Boom.